What's up, guys? This is Spencer Horwitz, a prospect with the Toronto Blue Jays. You're listening to The Walk-Off with Scott and Adam.
So excited to be joined by today's guest, first baseman in the Toronto Blue Jays organization, Spencer Horwitz. Welcome to The Walk-Off, man. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
You bet, buddy. Where are you right now?
I'm at home in beautiful Baltimore, Maryland, where it's 36 degrees right now. So, yeah.
Ooh, Baltimore. Is that actually where you're from?
Yeah, I'm from Baltimore, born and raised, never lived anywhere else. So, yeah, this is home.
So you were probably an Orioles fan growing up then.
Yeah, I was, but I'm a Blue Jays fan now.
Well, we'll forgive you for that. Absolutely. You're in the right place now, eh? Spencer, before we get too into this thing, I did want to just say congratulations on one heck of a Arizona Fall League season, dude. Like, you really turned some heads, so well done.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, so let's start with your high A season with the Vancouver Canadians. And we do have some listener questions that we'll get to before we let you go here, but I figured we'd start here. I know we had your Canadians teammate, fireballer Haggy D, on the show last month. And he mentioned how weird it was putting on a Vancouver Canadians jersey and then going to, as he called it, a dusty, empty home stadium in Oregon. What was that experience like, not having a true home stadium all last year?
Yeah. So in 2019, when I was drafted, I actually got to go to Vancouver for 2 weeks. So I was at the Nat for a week, and it was an unbelievable experience. So much fun. The fans are amazing. The city of Vancouver, the food, everything, the atmosphere, the host families. It was amazing. And then 2021, I was like, oh, awesome. We get to go back to Vancouver. And it's just like, psych, now we're going to Hillsborough. But no, it worked out. It was definitely a very different culture shock when we're playing in front of 15, 20 people at night when we don't have any home fans. So it was tough sometimes. And on those cold, rainy days, sometimes, yeah, it'd be hard when you got no fans there. But no, the facilities were great. The Hops treated us very well. But yeah, it was definitely different.
Was it tough to be motivated without any fans in the crowd?
It's not motivated, but it's when it's 3-3 in the bottom of the ninth and there's no fans, that's when it's a little different. But no,
more of a momentum thing, eh?
Yeah, it's definitely, we'd be playing the Hops when we'd technically be the away team, but we're both playing at Hop Stadium, and they got 3,000-4,000 fans there, and we're like, how come nobody comes and watches us? It was frustrating, but it worked out.
So let's talk. It's kind of a general consensus that, hitting a baseball is one of the more difficult things to do in sports. And as if it's not hard enough, baseball, you got to deal with slumps and just the mental battle that comes with hitting. And in fact, last year, you were even struggling a little in the summer. And then, man, you just broke out with this 27-game hit streak, breaking the Northwest League record, by the way. So huge congratulations there. Take me through that experience of that streak, because it had to have been a wild ride.
Yeah, so I didn't really realize the streak was going on until I saw something around 15 or 16. And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. And me and Tanner Morris had a hitting streak with me the whole time up until 20. And then once we got to 20, that's when we started paying attention. We talked about it a little bit. I remember him coming up to me one day in the dugout. He was like, do people keep mentioning it to you? I was like, yeah, but who cares? And then he lost his, and I think it was just a little fun game. I was playing really against myself. And there was a lot of luck involved, but it was a really fun 3-4 weeks of some good hits.
Before you broke the record, that it had stood for 59 years.
Yeah. I remember, I think it was the scout that signed our manager is the guy that held the record. So he knew him, and it was actually pretty cool.
Unreal, man. Yeah. So you did wind up finishing the year at AA, being called up for the final few games of the Fisher Cats. And obviously New Hampshire's not your goal, but after grinding it out in the minor leagues for a couple of years, that call up had to have felt pretty validating.
Oh yeah, it's any promotion is a great feeling, and just to go from where I was mid-July, end of July, to if you told me at the end of July I was going to finish the year in New Hampshire, I wouldn't have believed you, and I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't. But a lot of hard work, some adjustments, some video, some coaching, flipped it around. And yeah, that's where I was lucky enough to finish in New Hampshire.
One of the strengths in your game, and I mean, this kind of blew me away when I was looking it up, but you saw more pitches than literally every single person in the Blue Jays organization. Like, you walked more than you struck out last year. You finished with an OBP of 400. You had a 450 OBP in the Arizona Fall League. And in a time in baseball when strikeouts, I mean, they're higher than they've ever been, you seem to be the fish swimming upstream. What is your approach when you go to the plate? Because, man, I feel like you've got to hate K's to have this much discipline.
Yeah, I definitely disagree with a lot of people when they say strikeout's just another out. I I disagree with that wholeheartedly. Nobody likes striking out, and I hate it more than anybody. But yeah, I think that's just the competitive nature in me, and that's the I'm not gonna let this pitcher beat me and try and take the food that I want on my table. And that's what it really is. It comes down to mano a mano. When I'm in the box, I'm locked in. His best stuff versus my best stuff. Let's see what you got.
Now, I know just going from the big league team and looking at Bo Bichette, he does something where he changes his approach come the two strikes and stops with the leg kick and stuff like that. Are you more focused after two strikes? Like, are you changing your approach a little, or are you pretty much streamlined right from the time you get into the batter's box?
Yeah, I mean, it's the mindset's shifting based on what the pitcher's doing, what's going on in the count, what count it is, what is happening in the game, what the situation, and there's so many factors. But yeah, I'd say it's more with two strikes. It's more of a mindset shift than a physical shift for me.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk when you were drafted. You were drafted 24th round in 2019. And I mean this, Spencer, with the utmost respect. But when you were drafted, you were an afterthought, right?
Absolutely.
3 years later, and you're now ranked just outside the Jays' top 30 prospects. And I think that if you were drafted higher, you'd probably be in that top 30 prospects, right? If you were to give a late round Jays draft pick from 2022 some advice, what would that advice be?
Don't get caught up in all the rankings. Don't look to that as end all be all, because if the 24th rounder is hitting 300 and the 5th rounder is not, then hey, they're going to go with the 24th rounder eventually. Yeah, it's a business, and a lot of people understand that, and some guys are going to get more opportunities, but make the most of your opportunities, put your head down, grind, and just keep going. And that's been the number one thing for me. And the Blue Jays have been great for me because they haven't treated me like a 24th rounder in a lot of other organizations that I've heard terrible stories.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm getting treated the same as everybody. And that's something I'm really grateful for, that I've had the amount of opportunities I had, like going to the fall league and getting the promotion, even though I was a late rounder.
It's funny because a couple of the words I picked up on there was grind and eventually. Because it's funny, you did say, as long as you perform, they're going to eventually put you ahead of that 5th or 4th or 3rd round or whatever. But there must be a little bit of a mental hurdle when it comes to knowing that maybe you don't have quite as much rope as some of these guys who were drafted a little bit earlier. You just don't even think about it. That's the thing, right?
No, I think it's just it makes it even better. Like, who doesn't love the story of a 24th rounder? I mean,
of course.
Like, you can watch. I love watching the guys on TV that are the late rounders, and the guys like Kevin Pillar. He was like a 34th rounder, signed for $1,000, but that guy is an MLB All-Star. So if he can do, I remember before my first season going to Bluefield, he won the batting title in Bluefield. I was like, I had no idea that, and I was like, if that guy can do it, then why can't I?
Yeah, right? Were you always the lefty bat? Like, did your dad or who pushed you to be a lefty? Like, or were you just always naturally swinging left?
My dad is lefty thrower, lefty batter, so he tried to make me left, but I just refused to throw with my left. So we got the bat in there, but no, I throw right, and he was not happy with it, but it worked out, I think.
So I'm not sure if you've noticed, I'm saying that sarcastically, I'm sure you have, but the Jays could use a lefty bat. Uh, this might be the first time you've had to deal with this mental exercise, but how do you keep yourself in the now and not constantly be looking how your skill set could mesh with the big team?
Um, it's because you got to, in baseball, it's the only sport really where you have to pay your dues. It's no matter if you're a first rounder again or a 24th rounder, everyone goes to the minors. Everyone goes through it. And you have to pay your dues and show that you do belong, and that even though you might have the high ranking or you have a good season, you still got to do it again. And that's the name of the game, is consistency. And that's my ultimate goal.
Now we talked about your contact. You've always been a contact hitter, but you seem to find some power at the end of the year last year. I know 7 of your 12 dingers were in, I think, the last like 35 of your games. Did you change your approach, or was this just kind of a coincidence?
A little bit of both. We made some physical adjustments with my hand placement and looking at some counts and when I do my most damage, and taking advantage of those counts and learning how to do it more often and just doing it more consistently. And yeah, it definitely made a big adjustment. If you look at my month-to-month splits, you can see how first month was very, very hittery, very walks, very like my kind of game. And then June and July, big struggle. And then again, the walks stayed the same in August and September, but yeah, increased the power. So that showed that we made a good adjustment, and we're going to keep sticking with it.
Do you think June, July is going to pay off for you down the road? Is that the first time you've had that sort of slump where you just like, it lasted months?
Yeah, that was, I mean, because this was my first full season. So I've never played more than 60, 65 games
right.
in a year. So yeah, I didn't know what it was like to fail like that. It was humbling for sure. And it was tough going to the games. It was emotionally draining. It was everything. It was the worst feeling. But I remember I called my best friend and we were just talking one day. And he's like, yeah, you'll turn around. I was like, yeah, but it gave me so much clarity that I didn't want to quit. And that was probably a great feeling. Like, that's a feeling that I never knew I was going to have when I was failing, that I knew this is exactly what I wanted to do. And I was still right where I wanted to be. And life wasn't really that bad. Like, put it all in perspective. I'm hitting 230 in the high A West League. It could be way worse.
Could you feel the shift? Like when you started to hit in August, was there a moment where you're like, I'm out of this, I'm good now? I guess it's probably not that black and white, right?
It's not that black and white, because you don't go from 230 to 290 in a week. It's
yeah, you still got to look at the 235 up on the on the board, eh? Yeah,
it takes a while, but yeah, but no, there was definitely, I felt it more in my prep work, and that I was like, I like what I'm doing. I can feel this adjustment that's going to be made into the game, and I saw better performance and just more consistency in my prep work, and then that just led to more confidence in the game.
So I know your natural position is first base, and it's where you played the majority of your games last season. However, you did play some left field last year. You've got good speed, and let's face it, right? Dethroning Vladdy at first base might be a tall order. How do you feel in left? Do you enjoy left field? And is increasing your positional versatility something that you're kind of concentrating on in 2022?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So I was actually just down in Dunedin for a mini camp, and that was one of the main goals, was getting me other positions. We were taking reps at second, taking them at third, taking them in the outfield. And yeah, it's just being that guy that can get in the lineup, and hitting has always been my strong suit, and it's how do we get my bat in the lineup. And if I can play multiple positions, that's not only helping my career, but it's also helping the team.
And that is one thing about your skill set, is that even though you have played first base the majority of your career, again, you do profile with enough speed and stuff to get around the diamond at other positions. Is that something that, like, when you first decided you were going to try and you know, find a way to get your bat into the lineup, is that something you can kind of lean your, you know, worries on, is that you do have the ability to move around the diamond?
Yeah, that's something I don't want to, I hate being viewed as a first baseman, because initially I played first base. I went to college as a catcher, and I ended up playing first because we didn't have one. We just didn't have a first baseman, and
Right.
I was a freshman trying to get in the lineup. It was the same thing. So I was like, yeah, I'll play first. And it just stuck. And that's what happened. But yeah, I think that can still happen in pro ball and in the big leagues, is that I think I'm adequate and can still learn a lot at other positions and be able to get in the lineup very different ways.
Do you ever miss catching? Do you miss being behind the plate ever?
Yes and no. I miss the methodical part of it. The physical part,
Right.
tough. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, right. The mental side is probably a fun thing to get into, but then yeah, the physical side, it is a demanding position for sure.
Exactly.
So you actually played so well in the Arizona Fall League that you made their All-Star game, and along with two other Jays players in the system, Graham Spracker and Gabriel Moreno. Tell me about that experience. That must have been cool, and to also share it with two guys coming up with you must have been neat.
Yeah, it was awesome. I never played with Moreno and Spraker before. So I knew Moreno a little bit from spring training, and I met Spraker for that 2 weeks when I was in New Hampshire. So I knew him very sparingly, but yeah, those 6-7 weeks out there, it was great to get to know those guys and play with some awesome guys, and just having that success that we did and ending up winning the championship was an unreal experience. And the All-Star game was a cherry on top, that getting to meet some of the elite players in other organizations and talking hitting, and it was awesome.
I know I was reading a little bit about how Jeter has always been a big hero of yours.
Yeah.
And he was actually at that game. That must have been wild.
Yeah. He's really, really cool.
Love it. Yeah. So I know you probably get asked this all the time, and you just touched on it a little bit here, but he is the number one prospect in the Blue Jays system, number 5 overall. How good is Gabriel Moreno? Is the hype for real?
It's definitely for real. I like I said, I hadn't seen him play. I just seen the stats, and yeah, it was impressive what he did out there, and everyone keeps raving about him, and they should keep raving about him because he is the real deal.
So, Baltimore boy, grew up cheering for the Orioles. Did you have a favorite player on the O's?
Yeah, I grew up in a pretty rough spot for the Orioles from like 97 to like, I think it was like 2012, 2013 is when they started to get pretty good with like the Chris Davis, the Matt Wieters, the Machado coming up, Scope, Adam Jones. That whole team they were fun to watch. So versatile. And Buck Showalter did a great job with those guys. And yeah, it was fun to watch them and help them bring back an AL East championship back to Baltimore. It was cool. It's really fun to watch.
It's funny how I'm a diehard Jays fan, obviously, and same. 97 to 2014, like what dark times for those organizations, you know? Like, and it's funny how the Orioles and the Jays kind of both like became AL East contenders at the same time.
Yeah.
And the Orioles in this huge rebuild right now. When you look, and we don't need to get too much into the CBA or anything like that, but last year in the MLB, 15 teams finished below 500. Like, just as a fan, I feel like something's got to be done, right? This is a problem.
Yeah, it's the tanking. It stinks. No one wants to watch. You want to watch the best players. That's what the MLB is supposed to be for. But again, it's a business, and
it is.
Yeah, they've been at it for a long time, and they know the little ways around it. So they're going to do what's best for their brand.
It's interesting to see how different organizations do attack that. You know, like you looked at, and don't get me wrong, the Houston Astros proved it work, right? Like you could strip down and be terrible for 8-9 years, you know, lose 100+ games for 3-4 seasons in a row and build a championship team. Exactly. But then if you look at a team like the Milwaukee Brewers, right? And they're a team that, for whatever reason, they just have this way of finding those guys in free agency, you know, guys like Mike Moustakas or guys like, you know, Colton Wong that maybe just get overlooked by everyone else and wasn't one of those high tier guys, but is still a very good ball player. And rather than tanking, they go with a good ball player. And I would just love to see that be something that we see across more organizations.
Yeah, the MLB's got to figure out a way of rewarding teams for staying competitive and calling up their prospect and not
Right.
manipulating service time. The whole thing. Yeah.
Do you think a salary floor would help? Like, are there things that you look at and you're like, well, what if we did this? What if we do that? And by the way, we can just back off this subject altogether if you want to.
I really don't. I don't know. I don't have all the answers, and that's what. Yeah, I think the players' union's fighting for us, and I know they're going to do a great job. And yeah, I think we all just want to be treated fairly and just want the best product out there.
Give us the answer, Spencer. If you had to choose the biggest moment in your career to date, what would that be?
What does that mean? Biggest moment? Like most fun?
Like what? However, I guess you want to interpret that question, right? Like just a moment that, or you can even name a few that just stood out to you in your career that were just like, when you think back on your career, they pop up first.
Yeah. Yeah, just a few highlights would be going to the Cape Cod was like my first true like I could play professional baseball. Then it was getting drafted because I was like a smaller school guy, late round guy. So yeah, those two, my early career, those stand out big time. And then first year of pro ball, I just remember seeing a few big leaguers and I was like, dang, it was like Clay Buchholz was one of the first guys I saw. And I was like, I remember him on the Red Sox. He was a dude. But yeah, seeing him like that was like, whoa, like I'm here. And then going to Bluefield, winning the Mercer Cup was a really fun experience. And that was just like a little rivalry that we have with Princeton Rays. And yeah, it was just like having that competitiveness back out on the field was fun. And yeah, this past year, the 28 game hitting streak was really cool. But it again, being my first full season, I didn't know what it was like to have that everyday grind and just nonstop. Mm-hmm. But going through it with the guys, that's the best part is those 25, 30 guys that are with you. They're the only ones that understand it. They understand what's going on in the clubhouse. They understand what you're dealing with on the day to day and being away from your family. And that's honestly the best part is like going through it with those guys and building those relationships and just being there for each other.
How was the camaraderie in the clubhouse on the Canadians? Was it extra because you weren't at a home stadium? Like, did you feel like it was a tight group?
Yeah, it definitely built us closer. Is that it was just another hurdle we had to get through, and that's what it's all about, is just being adjustable and adapting. And yeah, that was something that we just had to do. And though some of us might not have liked it, and it wasn't as fun as Vancouver would have been with those fans up there, but it was just what we had to deal with, and there's nothing we could do about it.
That's so funny that you actually did spend some time in Vancouver in 2019 and you were able to tell the guys, because I know that was one thing that Haggy D kept bringing up. He's like, all I heard was great things about Vancouver, and then I go to Hillsborough and I'm playing for 10 people. Like, and nothing against Hillsborough, by the way. Like,
no.
You're just an away team at their home stadium. Like, that's just the way it goes, right?
Vancouver's a special city, and they treat the Canadians very well there.
Curious about your draft experience. Did you know, like, was Toronto talking to you, or was it just a complete shock that the Jays took you?
So I met with the Jays in the fall with Colson Barbish, the scout that actually ended up signing me. And yeah, we had a really good talk. It was like hour and a half, just about baseball, about life, about approach, about everything that you could imagine. And so that was like October, November going into my junior year. And I was like, okay, that was great. Fast forward draft day, day one, day two, I don't hear anything from the Jays. We had like our top 3 teams that we thought it was going to be, the guys that were calling, and just nothing. And eventually, yeah, the Jays just came calling and just happened right there.
That's awesome. That's very cool.
Yeah.
And honestly, Spencer, thank you so very, very much for taking the time to chat with us here. We do really appreciate it. And I know you're on a bit of a time crunch here. We do have some listener questions. Do you have enough time to go do a few of those here?
Yeah.
Awesome. Right on. So Daryl from Vancouver messaged us and he said, I actually got to see you, Spencer, in 2019. And then I was creeping your Instagram and saw that you're a hockey boy. Pretty cool. Also spotted you in a Capitals jersey. Do you think Ovechkin is going to break Wayne Gretzky's all-time record. He's 36 years old and needs 136 more goals. That's only like 4 more 30-ish goal seasons. Thoughts?
Yeah, great question. Ovechkin he's been my guy since he was drafted by the Capitals, and he's scored some crazy goals. And I think he's one of the most fierce competitors I've ever seen. Just the way he still goes out there and competes every day. Yeah, I really do think he's gonna break the record, and I think he could do it sooner rather than later.
I agree. Man, that guy, like,
Yeah.
you see him play at 36 and you're like, how is this
Exactly.
possible? Like, he's still stronger than half these 23-year-olds out there. It's wild.
Yeah. He's always he's bigger, faster, stronger, and he's still doing it for a long time. It's crazy.
What got you into hockey? Is your dad a hockey fan?
We're just a big sports family, and
nice.
Yeah, it's just like, and I think we went to a hockey game one time, and then I just wanted to go ice skating, and then we started ice skating, then it turned into hockey, and then just played hockey up through high school. It was great. Loved hockey.
What got you to choose baseball over hockey? Were you just better at baseball?
Yeah, I mean, hockey was just more for fun, and yeah, Maryland hockey is not Canadian hockey, not upstate hockey, but no, yeah, I had a great time playing hockey, and it was a lot of fun.
Okay, so your last question here is from Jennifer in Toronto. She says, hey, Spencer, hope to see you in a Jays uniform soon. Just wondering, and you touched on this a little bit, we'll ask it anyways. Just wondering how long you've played first base for. Do you like it? What did you transition from? And what do you dislike most about first base?
Yeah, good question. I've been playing first base really since freshman year of college, and I've always played everywhere. In high school, I played shortstop, second base, catcher, and then got to college as a catcher, went to first base, then pro ball, just stuck at first base, got a few games at second, gotten some in left. Yeah, like I said, I love being in the batting lineup, and however the easiest way for me to do that is be versatile, and that's what I'm trying to be. But what do I dislike about first base? I'll give you two things. I'm 5'11", 6 foot, and I hate when people say you're too small to play first base. I hate that. I'm like, I don't understand that at all. I'll hit all of the big guys right now, but that's here nor there. But also, yeah, the stigma that comes with first base is that it has to be this big, slow, unathletic guy. But no, I think I'm way more athletic than people think.
It's an interesting stigma, eh? I wonder what it is that kind of, I mean, there are a lot of guys that are incredibly athletic first basemen.
Yeah.
So it's weird to see, even if you look at some of the best players in the MLB right now, guys like Freddie Freeman, I mean, I would never call Freddie unathletic. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, Spencer, again, honestly, man, thank you so much. We really enjoyed chatting baseball here with you and would love to have you back sometime. All the best in the upcoming season, whenever it is. And yeah, man.
I appreciate you having me. It was awesome.